Okay, that's good. That means it's working. Share my screen. All right. So we should be good to go. Let me pull you. I've got this huge monitor on my desk, and that's why my head turns so far because the monitor is so big going that way.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So, take one. Welcome to the Courageous Recovery broadcast. I'm your host, Randy Mortensen. This is a weekly 20 to 30 minute program where we provide answers for your I don't know how. Whether you're dealing with recovery issues or maybe emotions from a loss or life is just throwing you one more curveball than you were expecting, I'm so glad to see that you're here. Today I've got an awesome guest, Abigail Vondal, and she's from the great state of Minnesota, which you know I love Minnesota most days except in the winter. But Abigail's just got a wealth of knowledge and passion, and she's a survivor. So it is great to see that we have people joining this broadcast from literally coast to coast in North America. At last count, we had listeners and viewers in 25 or 26 countries too. So depending on how you're watching this or listening to this, if you have the ability to subscribe, please hit subscribe. If you can like or if you want to leave a note, please do, because we find that sort of information so beneficial as we continue to plan and grow this podcast. For more information about who I am and what I'm up to these days, you can go to my website, which is Randy Mortensen. Mortensen is MORTENSEN.com. Later in the show, I will talk about a 21-point assessment that's on the front page there that determines whether you or a loved one qualifies for one of my programs called the Lifestyle Champion Cohort. And anyone that has listened to me, okay, Abigail, I'm having a hard time finding my mouse.
Oh,
So I apologize.
you're moving it.
Um, yeah, so this has never happened before.
Oh,
All right. So, Abigail, welcome. And I
hello.
apologize for the technical glitch there for 12 seconds. But anybody who's listened to the show knows that my usual first question is, what is there that you know today that you wish your younger self or your 22-year-old self would have known?
That's easy for me. 2 words, walk away.
Walk away. And can you expand on that a little bit?
All too often, I think people are getting involved in things that they really they have no business doing. And I'm guilty. I've done it. And so, leading a life with a really small circle is where I find my bliss.
Yeah, and even walking away from poor choices, walking away from relationships, walking away from, right? There's a
Yeah,
whole bunch of things that could enter
it can
into
pertain
that.
to a whole board of things. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, you would fill a whiteboard on things in my life that I should have walked away from. Okay, so somebody that has known you for a while, what would they say Abigail's really good at? What are the two or three things that that person would say Abigail's just really good at this? What would that be?
I would have to say my passion for the things that I love. Um, and being a mom is probably the biggest thing for me. Um,
And you have not one, not two, not three, but five beautiful daughters too, right?
I do, yep, ranging from 21 to 8. Yes, I have 5 girls.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your recovery journey. How's
Sure.
that? Okay. You want to just fill in some of the details, how where we started, and you're a survivor, and I absolutely want to spend a significant amount of time talking about No More Silent Sisters, that whole advocacy of yours. But let's kind of open the curtains up a little bit and let the listeners and the viewers know some of what you've endured in your recovery journey. How's that?
Sure. When I tell this, I like to start with the fact that I had 2 kids in high school. I had my first 2 daughters when I was 17 and then 18, or 16 and then 18. And I never really drank. I never did anything. I was busy being a mom. I was born to be a mom. And so when I was attacked. I was attacked 4 years ago by numerous assailants. And after that, wine started looking really, really good to me. And I could numb the pain. I could remember the pain. I could forget the pain. I could just escape with the alcohol. And it all came crashing down. Um, a year to the day of my attack, actually to the minute, I crashed my car going 90 miles an hour into two trees and spent a week in the hospital. I was in the trauma unit, broke 11 different bones, had a really big recovery. I have two TBIs that I'm still dealing with now from that accident. And watching my father walk into the hospital room, and he's been sober for 40 years now, and seeing the look of disappointment and maybe embarrassment or whatever, that look is ingrained in my memory. So if I ever get the urge, which does happen, I just remember my dad's face, and I don't want to disappoint him ever again. I don't ever want to bring that look on his face ever again.
Okay. And so that was how many years ago?
That was 3 years ago. I've been sober 3 years. I just celebrated my sober bursary on the 18th of April.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And so I had the question I didn't ask you before. The car accident, were there suicidal thoughts that caused the car accident, or was just out of control driving or alcohol influenced or
I wanted to go out and party. I was trying to relive my youth again, and my kids were getting older and they were helping with their little siblings. And I was like, I'm like 16 again. I never got to have that, which I'm grateful now that I didn't have that. But, I was kind of acting out a little bit maybe. And after the assault, I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who could help me. And it was like roadblocks everywhere I went. And so I heard about a party that I was going to go to, and I don't really remember a lot of it. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
yeah, you were lucky to survive, it sounds like.
Yes, yes, I'm very lucky, and I'm so grateful that I have decided to travel the red road, which is what our Native Americans call the sober way of living.
Right. Well, and I didn't know your dad recently celebrated 40 years, so kudos to dad too.
Yep. Yeah, actually, my uncle actually celebrates, and he's actually referred out to even around here because he's been with the AA program for 35 years. He just celebrated. So
Wow.
addiction runs in my family, but also recovery runs in my family. So
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. So without jeopardizing your privacy or anything like that, I guess I know that there's a lady or two listening that has been sexually assaulted or has been abused, or she's really concerned about telling law enforcement, or what would you say to that woman to encourage her? Not, what is that a fair question for me to ask?
yeah, and actually, I've helped a couple other people through their situations as well. There's assaults. The first thing that everyone needs to know is that there's two things that happen: report and survive. If you can do those two things, you can get through anything. I strongly encourage people to get law enforcement into the thing, even if there's nothing that comes of it, because you know that you're doing the right thing and maybe stopping it from happening to somebody else. But yes, definitely would, and it's not talked about. It's not something that, who wants to talk about sexual assault, whether it's, in a family or a, stranger, or no matter what it is, it's a very stigmatic topic. Nobody wants to talk about it. I didn't for 3 years. And now I found my voice, and that's where I find my power. And I'm going to keep speaking.
So what would you say to that woman that's listening? What would be the first step one, step two, step three? What would be the guidance you would offer her?
Like technically going through the assault.
What do you tell a friend, a trusted friend, or do you go directly to law enforcement, or what would be that? I
What I did was I woke up and I didn't feel right, and I wasn't able to walk or move or anything or sit down. And I called my local, my primary caregiver, and I said, I think this happened to me. I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be anything found. I don't know if anything really happened. I'm not sure. And she said, get into the ER. And so I did, and I endured a 7-hour exam. I had an advocate sitting next to me, holding my hand through the whole thing. And that's what I am going to do now. That's where my path has led me, is advocacy. I'm a certified sexual assault advocate.
Right. Yeah, I was going to bring that up
Oh, sorry.
also.
I got to it
No,
before you
no,
did.
no, but that's perfect. Repetition is always good in these sorts of things. So, and and I've had a guest on. It's quite a while ago now that it was her husband that was just abusing her, and and it was her husband and then his friends when they were drinking, and it, she would just sob on camera, even because it was still pretty fresh, and she said you have to tell somebody you can trust, or a medical person or an advocate or somebody like that, because it's the secrets that
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, no.
I called my dad, and he's my best friend. We talk every day. I don't know what I'd do without him, but I called him and I said, Dad, I think something happened to me. And I kind of explained to him in detail, which no father should ever have to hear happens to their daughter. But I said, this is going on. And he said, well, Abigail, what would you tell your daughters if they had called you and told you this? And I said, well, I tell them to go in, go in, go in. And he said, that's what I'm telling you, my girl. That's what he calls me. It's a native thing, I think. But yeah, he's kind of pushed me into even calling. So whoever you can trust that can help you and guide you, and me, you can call me.
Right, right. Okay, okay. Yeah, it's the secrets that are so harmful and detrimental, right?
And that's
And
kind of where the name came from, No More Silent Sisters, because this is a silence topic and I've had enough. And if people have to hear all the gruesome details of what I went through and see the pictures from my exam, I don't care, because if it helps one person, my job is done.
okay, okay, that's awesome. Thank you for your vulnerability here. And so that was the moment. We all have the moment when we made that life-changing decision, right? When dad came into the hospital room, and you said, okay, I'm a good mom. I want to be a great mom. I need to change some of my compulsive and destructive behaviors.
Yep.
And so as you've gone down that path of recovery over the last 3 years, okay, what what's it been? I mean, how do you celebrate your victories?
With my girls, with my daughters and my family. I'm the youngest of six. And so we're really close. We text every day. And with my family, they're always rooting for me and been very supportive through this whole thing. My parents have. And definitely, it wouldn't be a celebration without my family and my fiance. So,
Okay, okay. And so for that woman who's listening, that she doesn't know who to reach out to, that's safe in the recovery world, how where might she find resources?
well, you can go on Facebook to my No More Silent Sisters page, message me on there, or you can contact me on my Facebook page, my personal page, Abigail Vondal. And if I can't help you, I will get you to someone who can.
Yeah, and you'll hear me say something very similar to that here shortly, because what I like to say is call somebody you know and trust, and then there are AA meetings around the world, there are NA meetings around the world, there are advocacy groups that many people don't know about, so it's the networks that are life saving.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and then just call somebody who knows. What I also like to say, call somebody that can say, "I know how you feel." I
Yes,
use I use
that's been a big hurdle for me, because not a lot of people have been attacked by numerous assailants. I don't know of any who have had quite as many assailants as I have, but it's been a very lonely road. And I think that some of that was, I was drowning some of that loneliness with the wine that I was drinking. And you are not alone. I am here. Even if I'm the only person in your corner, I am here. And you are not alone, and we'll walk this road together.
right. Yeah, and it takes two or more,
Well,
basically.
I'm a twin, so I know it does
Yeah,
take
that's
two.
right. You are a twin,
Yeah,
so you're double blessed in many ways,
I
right?
am. I love it.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what it's like to not be a twin. Everyone always says, what's it like to be a twin? And I'm like, well, what's it like to be a singleton? I don't know.
What's it
Yeah,
like to not be a twin,
I
right?
know.
Yeah. So you're a mom of five girls.
Yeah,
What would
yeah.
you say to that mom or that dad that's listening that's maybe got a teenage daughter that's going down the wrong path? What would you say to encourage mom or dad as far as a better way to deal with that teenage daughter? What comes to mind?
I've had to deal with this actually with my children, and keeping an open line of communication, whether that's texting, whether that's, I mean, messaging, whether, no matter what it is. I'm very close with my daughters. You know, we grew up together as I was a young mom, but always and let them know that you're proud and that you love them regardless of whatever happens. That's what I do with my girls. I don't care what they do. I don't care what they say. They can always come home. They can always, talk to me about whatever it is. Anything, any topic. There's no topic that we can't discuss.
Yeah, those are good words for sure. And don't be shocked, right?
Yeah,
Don't be shocked. You did what?
right. Yeah, don't handle it. I mean, the initial reaction, of course, is of any parent is going to be like that. But, remember what you did maybe when you were, a kid yourself. And so, yeah, just take it easy, and there's some things going on if they're going down the wrong path. And so we need to get to the core reason of why that's happening.
Right. And the other thing I like to say too is we're far better at parenting when we listen 70% of the time and talk 30%.
You know,
Right?
there's an old native saying, you're born with two ears and one mouth. So you need to listen double and speak once.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that those two go together very
Yeah.
well for sure. Okay. And being being in Western Minnesota, there's are there sufficient resources for that female in recovery out in Western Minnesota, would you say, or is that kind of limiting in rural America?
I was just going to say, in rural America, it's not, there's very limited resources. There's maybe one or two different places that you can go around here. Um, we have more lakes than anything here. So, but yeah, no, there's AA meetings, and I've done that, and I have gotten my chips and everything like that. But I I don't, and I think this is a big thing for everywhere, that there are not enough resources. And if there
Right.
are, things aren't being done maybe the way they should be, and it's not doing protocol. And so the resources are very limited and they need reform.
Yeah. Any and awareness and
Yes.
any anybody that's listened to this or knows me, one of my keynote talks is titled "Crushing the Stigma." Because we have stigma in our businesses and in corporate world, in our faith communities, in our families, um, and it's crushing the stigma. Sounds like, well, just don't talk about it then, right? Or whatever that goofy guidance might be.
And I think that the generation before me, or my mom's generation, that was what they were told. Don't bring this up. Don't talk about it. We'll deal with it at a different point. No, the time is here now. And
Right.
that's what I'm doing. Who better than me, and when better than now?
Yeah. If not you, then who?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Okay, well, let me just say a couple things, and then I want the people to know how to get a hold of you, Abigail.
Sure.
So, uh, folks, I'm launching another lifestyle champion cohort in June, and I'm very interested in having you indicate your interest because this is an 8 week program where I use Zoom technology to do a 90-minute weekly meeting with 10 to 12 people. And the first 30 minutes is teaching, but the three phases of this program are: phase one is evaluate, who am I today? Where am I in my journey? Equip, and then enjoy. Because so often I've seen people that are maybe sober, they're clean, but they really aren't to the point of having been set free of those past burdens, so they don't know how to enjoy. The 21 point assessment on the front page of my website is how you determine whether you're a mild, moderate, or severe case of substance use disorder. If you're mild or moderate, you're a good fit for this program. If you're severe, like Abigail and I said earlier, let me know and we will connect you with the resources because I don't want you to struggle another day. For more information about this program, it's very simple for you to just text champion to 66866. That's champion to 66866, and I can answer more questions about that and see if you're a good fit for the program. So, Abigail, let's talk about no more silent sisters and how do people connect with you? What's the best way?
So I have a public Facebook page, and I created this movement because I'm sick of the stigma of being silenced. And we need to speak up, people. Our voices are our power, and I'm finding mine, and I can be yours. I can stand up for whoever I need to stand. My mom always says, "You were born with a megaphone." And I'm like, yeah, and let's put it to use now. So yeah.
That's brilliant. You were born with a megaphone. That's good. She didn't say you have a big mouth or a loud voice. It's a megaphone.
No. Yeah.
Okay. So the Facebook group, how do they find that?
You just go into search and put "No More Silent Sisters." The no, it's all capitalized in space, so you should be able to pull up the Facebook page. I think the profile pic is the sexual assault survivor symbol, and then
Okay.
my logo is on the back portion of the page. So
And this month is, I don't have it written down, but this month is what?
this month is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we're supposed to wear our
Section.
teal. That's actually the shirt that I have on. Everything in my house is teal because I am the survivor, but I've also loved teal always. So it was kind of meant to be. But yeah,
So April is the Sexual Assault Survivor Month.
it's
Is
Sexual
that
Assault Awareness Month.
Sorry. Thank
No,
you.
that's okay.
Sexual
Yeah.
Assault Awareness Month. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. And tell me your motivation to become a certified sexual assault advocate. How did that come about?
I like I told you before, it doesn't affect you until it affects you. And then when you start seeing the statistics of myself, an Indigenous woman, they're disgusting. And we need reform. And I'm doing this for my 5 daughters. I'm doing this for your daughter. I'm doing this for your aunt, for anyone who has been affected by sexual abuse. I'm doing this for all of us. And I'll take more supporters.
Got it. Got it. And so the fact though that you went through whatever process necessary to become certified as an advocate, just kudos to you for that
Thank
because
you.
there's not you honestly you're the first time I've ever heard of that.
Oh, yep.
So we need to promote that more too. It sounds like, right?
Yeah, I'm actually also on a board with MINCASA, the Minnesota Coalition Against Sexual Assault. I work on a policy advisory board working with legislation here in Minnesota to get things reformed. So that's another thing I'm doing in the community. And then I just actually teamed up with a local mental health place here, and we're going to start a support group for sexual assault survivors. So
That's
that's in the early,
awesome.
yeah, that's in the early stages. Where May 13th I go in and we're going to formalize the plan and get everything going. And so I really want everyone to know that if they have suffered sexual abuse or sexual assault, you're not alone. I am here.
So somebody in St. Cloud, Alexandria, Minnesota, are they close enough to participate in that group? Or is
It's
that
public.
quite a way?
It'll be for anybody who wants to show up.
Okay, because I know the demographics of the listeners. There are people in those regions that are
Yes,
listening to this.
all are
Okay.
welcome.
Okay. All right. Good. 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 All right. So, what else is on your heart to share with the audience? I mean, what should we be sharing from your experience and your passion that maybe we haven't thought about yet?
I think the biggest thing is that just because we live in rural Minnesota or rural anywhere, it doesn't mean sexual assault's not happening, because it's happening. It's happening under roofs, it's happening everywhere, and it needs to stop. And just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Well, and it's happening in our schools, it's happening in our businesses, it's happening in our church, in our faith communities.
That's the thing
Uh,
about sexual assault. It's
right.
discriminatory. It doesn't, there's no perfect victim. Everyone could be the victim.
In how does pornography, just addiction to pornography, weave into that? Have you ever thought of that?
You know, I've never really thought of that before. I know it. it can be an addiction. I just, I don't know. That's a good
Here,
question.
well, here's why I'm saying that. I shared with you the whole Quest 180 movement up
Hmm.
in Minnesota, and as I've launched it here in Central Florida, when I'm in a group of men, 80% of the men are there, 75 to 80% of the men are there because of a sex addiction or a pornography addiction.
Ooh,
And that's just all new to me. And the more research I've done, it's because this next generation has so much access. You know, I'm old enough that it was a Playboy, right? Or it
right,
was
you're right.
something like that, where today they have so much access. We have a young man, he's 15 years old. He's coming to our program now because he's addicted to pornography, and he's realized that. But I'm seeing such and you know in my back past, it was the drinking that caused the inappropriate sexual activity, or it was the drugs that generated that whole interest. Now these guys aren't drinking and drugging; they're just pursuing pornography,
Ugh.
and it's horrible.
And
That's why.
it is so readily available. That's, yeah.
But I suspect there's a trigger there. Do you think that would make sense?
Generally with an addiction, there's always a trigger.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
matter what it is that the addiction is, there's always some sort of trigger.
Wow. Okay. And that's yeah, that was we didn't talk about that before, but that thought came to my mind in that okay, why is this where's the stigma, right? Where all of these things and the whole addiction to pornography and access to some of those inappropriate things is so easy these days. I think that's why it's growing as rapidly as it is, and that's not going to be good for people like you that are advocating, for the females. But there's honestly there's male to male sexual immorality also.
I was actually shocked at the number of men that have been assaulted. And you don't ever hear about that because the men are supposed to be strong and be able to defend themselves. And so, yeah, I was really shocked at the statistics of men being sexually assaulted as well.
Right. Okay. So we talked about educators, faith-based communities, homes, or whatever. Your experience with law enforcement hasn't exactly been positive either.
Uh,
Um, Go ahead.
no, it's the attack was bad. I don't remember much of my attack, but the aftermath of dealing with law enforcement has been, I have to honestly say, more traumatic to me. My PTSD, that I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, um, I fear calling them just to talk about my case. I fear, um, it's just re-victimizing us all over again. And I think that it happens more often than not, and it's not talked about. And that's a big thing that I promote, is that my case has been closed 3 different times. And just because your case is closed doesn't mean it's the end. I have kept on fighting. I have got it pushed open 2 more times, and I'm not going to stop until there's no more silent sisters.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome. I just your passion is just infectious in a good way. It really is. So we
thank
need
you.
to wrap up here. It's hard to believe this time goes so fast, but ladies and gentlemen, overdose deaths have just skyrocketed in the last 2 years. We're now seeing right at 150 overdose deaths per day across the United States. It's costing our economy more than $800 billion annually. If you're listening to this and you know somebody who's struggling today, maybe you're that person who's battling compulsive or destructive behavior. Please don't wait another day to seek help. Please don't wait another day to reach out. If you want, you can reach me at my number. My office number is 321-757-HOPE. That's 321-757-HOPE. I can get you connected to Abigail also, or call someone that you know and trust, because the people who are dying today are husbands, wives, sons, and daughters of someone who loves them. So today's the day. And I do hope you found this helpful. You can go to my website. I've got the ebook that's available at no cost to you. And Abigail, what words of encouragement would you offer to that lady that's hearing this and just getting sweaty palms, and she's saying, "Wow, I have to tell somebody, but I don't know who because she's been assaulted or she's been victimized." what would you say to her that to really encourage her?
Well, I still get sweaty palms and it's 4 years later, so I understand. And reach out to somebody, anybody you trust, anybody. It doesn't have to be law enforcement. It can be an advocacy group. It could be me. Reach out to me. It doesn't have to be law enforcement, but somebody should know what happened to you because
Yeah,
we care. I
yeah,
care.
yeah, absolutely. We all care. It's just it's those things that are hidden in the closet that we can't help you with. So open the closet door. I guess I've never said that before, but for
Let's heal
sure.
together.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, folks, I hope you found this information helpful today. You can look for the replay of this to be available on usual podcast online outlets like Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and many, many more. I just want to close with this. I want you to have a blessed day and be extraordinary today.